everybody. Happy Thursday. We have an amazing show for everybody today.
コーン。キンコンカンコン。
So I was just watching.
Hi. 初中お見舞い申し上げます。暑さ厳しき折から皆様いかがお過ごしでしょうか。私は毎日お掃除にお洗濯、お料理に先日はこんな事件に遭遇いたしました。それはひどく蒸し暑くて時折妙に生臭い風の吹くとある夏の夜の出来事でございます。
Right, so I was just thinking, 2005, Neko soft visual novel Sanada. More specifically, because I haven't seen the original, this is the 2012 re-release that has some more routes in it, Sanada R. I read through it last summer. So you can hear right here. And Sanada R is maybe especially notable for having character designs by Ume Aoki, but just under a pseudonym, which is not uncommon for people working on eroge to want to do it under a different name. But especially this is interesting because, like I said before, Mahoromatic is a collab between Gainax and Shaft. And if there's any anime studio that Ume Aoki is like most associated with, it would be Studio Shaft, because she did designs for Madoka Magica, Magia Record, and of course she's the mangaka behind Hidamari Sketch, right? Which have Shaft adaptations.
Which both
she's also, I think,
my
drawn
anime
like
list and
end cards,
NEDB credit as
and some
the
other
composer for the music behind
you can see here,
Mahoromatic.
Let's see, some random save file here to show
and
you.
I couldn't find his name anywhere on the VNDB page for Sanada. There's like a different composer
very
list
much
for
in
both
her style of
the
designs.
original edition and this extended release Sanada R. And he's
another thing
not
I thought was
obviously
especially
any of
interesting
these,
was
but
that,
some of them are groups, and some of them are under pseudonyms too. So it's possible that one of
is
them
also
is his.
kind of well known.
But maybe
for
if you're watching
music,
this
like
and you know more,
from
then I
Evangelion,
can figure out
maybe
about
especially
this
the
little
films
mystery
that's
of
used in
why
Karekano,
this
and then maybe
this
also
track
shows
from,
up in
what's
track
it called?
from
like 2001 in Mahoromatic,
Bandobashi
Shaft production
or whatever
is here in.
And I actually went and looked at who the composer
is here
for Mahoromatic,
and also in Sanada.
Because since it's
Yeah,
from
please let me
2001,
know.
I assume that's like where the music originated from.
Okay,
so I guess this is now a regular segment where I come related oddities that I encounter. But I was just making that's a little key card, you know. I mean, minding that words from visual novels, right? And there was no word, you know. Usually, like if you look at the next word I have to do, there's just a word, and I have like a source code database that comes. Oh my god. You know, because I have a 4-row database that on a setup so that I don't have audio files from this website. Let's try it again. Hey, so apparently now we're in the segment. And I just encountered another one where I was making my Donkey cards. Give it. Which, oh my god, my thumb has refocused. Okay, so I guess this is now a regular segment where I will that's a little really hard, you know. I'd be minding them. I was just want to make it right. And there was no word, usually. The next word I have to do. This website, and that I've tied it with the other concepts when I generate the cards by doing something like database. I don't even know how to explain it. How do I explain it? We get something like oh my god! Oh my god, there's a like katakana. This is so annoying. Here we go. So we can pull up a word like this, and then we can just we get a card. We're not gonna do that because we don't want to card Stella, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I was doing it. So usually.
早すぎる。
思いつき
Oh, look at it. Okay.
声が出る。おお、とっととかかってこい。ダルキーク。ベレア。
魔法学園。さあ、よろしくお願いします。シャボンシャート。
Which is a sequel to, you could say, his biggest video. I don't know if that was actually motivation. It's almost demotivating in some ways, but that's kind of besides the point. For some reason, it just made me think a little bit more about making vloggy vids. There was also actually a time earlier this year, before the new Tim Rogers video came out, where I also was like, going on more of like a Tim Rogers deep dive retrospective and like trying out like writing some scripts and stuff like that. I recorded one of them about my anime list and about how, I mean, it was like an April Fool's type video. But it ended up being about like my
来てくれたんですね。
being bought by this
ありがとうございます。
crypto company that has like a really wacky, like kind of documentary-esque like shitcore video on their homepage that had some kind of like propaganda.
いえ、大丈夫です。全然。むしろ、そんな、急に呼び出したりして、すみません。
But so I've had a few of these periods, and I've also, I mean, there's a few other videos I started recording and haven't done anything with it, but maybe I'll do something with them. But I think maybe the conclusion I've ultimately come to is I should just stop recording things because the mental block I end up arriving at usually is that I feel like
はい、私
the
も
ideas I
全然
have,
平気です。
or like any like info I might be able to impart is like not organized enough or concise enough, or like even like well thought through enough to make it worth putting it into some video. But what ends up happening then because of that is if you're not like very accustomed to speaking to the camera,
お兄さ
and
ん、
you only do it like when you think you have a good idea.
あまねちゃんの話をするために、お兄さんに来てもらったわけじゃありませんよ。
You become way stupider and like way less skilled at speaking. In fact, I really noticed that first of all, I speak normally very fast, so right now, like, I'm
私、
actually attempting to slow
お
down
兄さんの
my
こと
natural
を
speech,
初めて見た
which
時
isn't
か
how
ら
I would, like, normally I communicate with someone when I get to speed.
ドキドキしてました。好きです。お兄さん。
So
ですから私とお付き合いしてください。そうなんですか。そうなんですか。わかりました。正直に答えてくれてありがとうございます。そんな風に言われたらこんな形で挨拶をするくらい謝罪するわと思います。ごめんなさい。あんまり言ってもお兄さんを困らせてしまうだけでしょうから。なんでも何も私はあなたに会うために来たのよ。魔王様、あなたが魔王の生まれ変わりなんでしょ。でもお兄さんに一つだけお願いがあります。
I've been playing more Tenchi Souzo Reboot recently. This uses a visual novel. It's always had an interesting spot in my imagination because when I first visited Tokyo and I went to like Trader or whatever, like that was like the big visual novel impression.
This is director's commentary
Going in Trader and just seeing this like
we're gonna be filling in some lapses or gaps.
Used okay.
In this Tenchi
I didn't go to
Souzo
South Smash actually on my first trip. But I went there and this was at the time when Tenchi Souzo Reboot came out. Probably, let's see actually, let's look it up. Wow, literally like almost like maybe like a week after it came out.
This is after
and
the
there were
physical
like
edition came out.
advertisements
Actually, I think
for
they
it
did
in
over
Trader,
the demo came out
multiple.
earlier.
So I like the imagery of it just always stuck in my head. And even though I'm not like a massive Yuzu Soft fan by any means, I always just thought some of the characters are more endearing to me, like visually, their designs than normal. In Yuzu Soft, probably mostly to do with Kurumi, Kohibari Kurumi. But also it's like a kind of an isekai or reverse isekai, tensei type of thing, kind of. Like a Mao-sama, it's like clearly playing off of those tropes. And I've been reading it on and off since last year, when it finally came out. It was actually
when it finally came out, I mean, like the English version got released, even though I'm reading it in Japanese. But I like
this character, like she's you have like an Imoto in the game, and
all the
your Imoto has like a classmate, which is like your Koha, I guess. And
I think they even have Chinese.
You know how in some eroge there's characters who are kind like they will have an H scene, but they have like a really short route. Like, and in this case, this character doesn't even require you to complete that much of the common
like, for
route
example,
before you reach
this is
their
one I'm
H scene. Like there is a
who
scene
I've realized
fairly
after
early
watching
on.
this back, I never knew
Spoilers for Tenchi Souzo Reboot, but she is being like
very
possessed.
silly, considering
Kind of,
it's
like,
mostly
it's
talking
like
about
there's like a
it's
spellcast on her that
she's
makes her.
Mikuni Sairi.
She wants the main character to impregnate her, essentially. And she like wants to talk to you at school, and then she like tries to seduce you, and you have to make this choice. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about this character because she also does seem to really like you, or like the main character,
and she's just relegated to this extremely marginal
main
role.
characters.
And there's something about the contrast between her affection and who she is given. I guess in King It makes her also a lot more like
Seems like the Kohai role is one that often gets
it's
relegated.
this kind of like sadity pity thing, I guess, a bit. Maybe it's also her design is like a bit more, I don't know if frumpy is the right word, but like she has brown hair. She's very earnest. She appears like I've been reading the Emoto arc recently, and she appears a number of times. I was actually wondering if maybe there was going to be,
I don't know why I felt the need to bring that up.
It sounds even absurd to say, but with the Kohai and Emoto. We'll see. But I was just thinking about characters like her, and maybe some of you guys know this, was his name Tobin Jacobs, is that his name? The Church of Mizuno.
You guys should actually check out his channel. I think some of the people who watch this, if you don't know his channel, might actually like his channel.
I mean, this was actually played up a bit by him, but this idea of being obsessed
He's the guy who
with
prints
this
out all
extremely
these
marginal character,
waifus and
like
YouTubers
part of
and
the
stuff and
appeal
makes like massive displays of them. Or like
意外と
almost
真面目なん
attracting
です
many
ね
of them like quiet and
ごめんなさい
definitely attracting
あなたのことを
Mazuno's case. I think
バ
she's
カにしてるとか
he's
じゃ
in a
ないで
good
す
shot.
かね
He's in a good position to be able to do something like that for a long time because
and how that like it increases the moe. Like kind of playing on it. Like it knows that people might want an H scene
バックログ画面だね
with one of those characters or like a route, but it also knows not to like flesh it out. It's interesting to think about if a fleshed out route for this character would be like what would it benefit from that? Also, for example, when I was reading Doraku Diet on stream, someone was very excited about this like.
But I think what
kidnapper
is especially
girl
notable
early
about
on.
Mikuni's route,
And
at least
we looked up and saw
compared to other
this
routes that I've encountered
absolutely
like
no
this,
arc
is
in the
that it
route.
takes place near the
No,
beginning, which I think also makes it more similar to Mizuno.
The kidnapper vampire. So that's I don't know what we can.
It's
make of
also,
that, but
I don't mention this here, but it also serves a function of like, let's say someone's playing this game, and for some reason you're playing it primarily because you want like the H scenes, like you're playing it as if it's a Nukiga.
とりあえず試してみ
Then
ません
maybe you're not that thrilled to have to wait
精一杯頑張りますよ
for 10 hours or however, maybe even longer, I think, before you reach one in one of the more like main routes, right? So this one gives you like an ability to veer off into an H
バ
scene
ックログ画面です
very early.
見た目ほど危険じゃないのよあれ彼女の様子が変だったのはあなたも気づいていたんでしょセーブ画面だねさあ始めよっか始めよっか
Last year was Mono. It's definitely in my top 5 anime of the year. Pretty serious of it. And I was already anticipating it quite a bit because it has a bunch of good teams that worked on Yamano Susume. Like this studio was Soy. I don't know how to say it. I feel like maybe it's supposed to be like a French word. But yeah, it has a bunch of people who worked on Yamano Susume. And then in this case it was also an adaptation of a manga by the mangaka. Which I'm kind of, I mean, I enjoy Yurika, but not like I love it, like it to the 5. And I've always compared it to Yamano Susume actually, and brought up and kind of, you know, listed Yamano Susume as the example of what I would like to see more of in Yurika Camp, which is like Sakuga, essentially like more like emphasis put on like character acting animation. Also, maybe I think I'm in the minority in not being that endeared to the Yuru Camp coloring. Yamano Susume, like, it's a little subtle, but I think the color palette is actually fairly unique in it. Anyway, it kind of she's discussed this year, and it was this event as a massive layer. Just about it, you know, fast. Get it up. Just about she go harder. Just about it. You know, the bush and cups out in them. Plus the melts. Incarnation uses that more as a gimmick to hook you and an excuse to have like a bunch of really Sakuga scene when I was. And then it kind of de-emphasizes that. And so I was very hyped for the show, but you're already hooked and it's a show nonetheless. But I would like to see more non-action shows do this, because action shows just use the fights. I would like to see more to have like some wacky animation for powers, although a lot of them tend to be wacky in the same type of way. I would say. So I think action shows are more of that is welcome. I mean, there's a new show coming out by this studio this season. I'm very hyped for it. I've already talked about wacky animation times. Bochi kind of did this too, I guess, and we're like hype it up again because it's being directed by the same guy who directed 16-Bit Sensation. And it has the Yamano Susume character designer in Mono. And the like one of the characters, two girls doing X, so much like Aoi. Because it's like this merging of what is it, the Digi photo and the Cinema Club. Maybe he's even Digicom check, but I think he's also the photo in the Cinema Club merge. But the show is Kami na botan yoiru sugata wa yuri no hana. You end up with like these shots where, for example, they put a 360-degree camera on a kite and like fly it up. Yuri as well. And then the animators, you know, gonna use that as an excuse to do some wacky animation. Anyway, we're hyped for it. And it actually doesn't really hold that premise through the whole thing. I've been thinking quite a bit about gambling recently, mostly because I've had this idea for this concert that I wanted to do. I've been calling it the casino concert, but the idea is like a kind of concert where you would walk into the room. Ideally, the room would be like a casino lobby type thing, and there would be different like areas, like, you know, like the blackjack table, or like roulette, or craps, or the slots. Maybe even pachinko. Maybe we got some pachi slots. Who knows? And the idea was that there would be like a different person, like for example the dealer, or there'd be a different way of kind of having like a piece, and like it wouldn't be like a sit down, you know, everyone here's the the same piece all at once kind of thing. It would be like a casino where everyone goes to a different like activity, a station, if you will, and they interact with whatever the game there is, and that game is kind of the work, right? And I was thinking about it in relation to like music history. I was thinking about it in relation to aleatoric music and like some of the cage pieces, maybe. Yeah, like chance composition, you could say. Various game pieces. I guess John Zorn's Cobra is an obvious one as well. Or you guys hearing that sound? I actually think I left that on overnight. Very bad. That's right. You tell him. That's right. What do you think about the casino concert? You don't know? Okay. So I've been thinking a bit about that. Also, just in relation to like how bets. I mean, gambling like pervades. It's not contained in the casino. Well, I guess it never was, right? It was on the streets and in many places, but now it's on the internet, right? It's in the palm of your hand, and to gamble large sums on almost anything, right? Like you go on Polymarket and there's bets on like every fucking thing. The one I was literally thinking of a couple weeks ago was I was imagining. It's funny, if I had made it, I mean, I wouldn't do this, but if I had made it, I actually would have for sure won, because it was towards the beginning of the month, and I had the thought of, will breaking points, will the word clavicular be said on breaking points in March 2026? And I had a feeling yes. I had a feeling that Crystal would bring it up or something. I don't know why, but I don't even know why the fuck I'm talking about this. Well, I do. It's about chance. And Polymarket. But for some reason the idea of that being something you could bet money on online seemed really absurd to me. The funny thing is it totally didn't happen. It happened on a Friday stream show. It was Emily who brought it up. Anyway, I've been thinking about, like, what if, you had, like, a festival, for example, and there was, like, a digital currency that you wouldn't charge the audience for, like, people would maybe start with all the same amount. And then you got someone to build, like, a Polymarket imitator type thing where you could use that digital currency to place wagers on the festival. The idea, at least in this case, would be you wouldn't put money in. So this is a long way of saying that I've been thinking a lot about Balatro in relation to this. Because Balatro, I've been known to say that it's the most addictive piece of any media I've interacted with. And I think it was very noble of the developer to not fill it with fucking microtransactional bullshit. Because I think he would have made an insane amount of money from that. And a lot of people have been really upset with him. It's so addictive, the mechanisms in that game. But what's interesting is it takes a familiar form, like poker hands, right? And then it uses that, like, it uses you knowing that, and maybe you not even knowing that, you can, like, see, explain to me in the game. But to then play, like, a roguelike deck builder that's very, has an interesting feature set of being, or characteristics of being both fairly stripped down, like in a normal type way, but also very deep, I guess. Like you would call it complex in kind of a deep way. Maybe it's just mathematical systems. It's interesting to think of that as deep when that's like someone like Howard Glass would dismissively, somewhat jokingly call it, do you call it anti-narrative distraction swap or something? I don't know, because it's just a total gameplay type thing. It's one of these, what is gaming, and then you pull it down to something like older. Yeah, I think, and I was thinking about like if there was some stuff I could learn about that for doing this potential casino content, because one of the things I'm most concerned about is the ethics of doing such a thing and what it, like, for example, nobody thinks of this when they do a concert for like alcoholism or something. Like where you have a concert for alcohol. I don't mean a concert literally for conditioned alcoholism. I mean like how alcoholics will feel like at a concert. For example, you know, especially where I live, like there's lots of alcohol being sold at concerts, and obviously being in the presence of all that can be a trigger for an alcoholic, let's say. But it's interesting because you would never, or I wouldn't normally, I guess certain like DIY punk promoters and all these things would think about this kind of stuff. Maybe not with Havoc, but I would, like, doing a casino concert would be very aware of, even if there's no money being put into it by the audience, like for artificial tokens or whatever, for the currency to be able to bet with, that there's still something about, like, activating that part of the brain, especially for someone who might be predisposed. Like a lot of the stuff I think around me, it's usually that I'm not really focused on getting it like out into the world, and I just kind of made it for me. And then I kind of only tend to upload stuff when there feels like there's some sort of like, for example, like last year I uploaded a couple of things. Like poker trip for multiple people made it this far video. I was all the videos I have all the response working on mostly last year. I've been abandoning. I mean, like a lot of stuff I did usually I'm not really focused on getting it out into the world. But this year I only just and then I kind of only tend to upload stuff. I don't want to feel like, again, I've been like the last year social reasons for that. For example, yeah, I think I thought I would probably at some point. But last year I uploaded a couple of things, one of the big poker tournaments, and it was only multiple but all the videos I did last year were always in response to something else. Like either someone asking me about this thing. But because we're this year, then I only sort of like, you know, dusted up but the funny one, that one, well, again, I've been doing stuff I think I thought I would find out you can tell me but like, because I have footage from my second not a lot, and I'll probably make but I also have, like, before I ever went to Japan, but maybe a little bit after, I was doing what I've been doing stuff that's not too common now, started there. As I started doing research, I started doing something before we got into the more recent stuff, international, so I thought it was to kind of get all that some of that from Japan, some of them are even 2022, I think, not in this video, but I think I have some, maybe we'll see if I end up trying. You can tell me if you'd be interested in this, Michelle, like, because I have footage for my second Tokyo trip, not a lot, and I'll probably make Tokyo trip too. But I also have, like, before I ever went to Japan, I'll probably try to get maybe a little bit after I was doing this thing where I was recording something in a coffee shop. Hopefully these videos might be a bit more documented. But as I started getting accumulated, I started to think there was something interesting about having coffee shops. Some were from Japan, but hopefully the other vid might be a bit more focused than this one. I mean, I made a little bit of better. If we had too high of standards with this, we'd need to put out. Which also probably isn't the end. I mean, it definitely wouldn't be the end of the world. But thanks for watching.